Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I'm your host, Fellow KGB. You can follow me on Twitter at the Fellow KGB. And we're going live today. I'm actually going to tweet out the link in a second here, but we're doing a best ball draft with the drafters.com Best Ball Championship. I'm going to do a screen share real quick right here, and I'll show you the draft board. And we're just going to kind of hang out today, and we're just going to draft a best ball team. We got the second spot, so that's pretty cool. We're probably going to be taking Saquon Barkley. So here is our draft lobby. Let me just get this stuff going here, and then I'm going to tweet out a link real quick. The draft's just about to start. And, yeah, we got the second spot. I've been getting the 1, the 2, and the 3 a lot lately, so that's I'm kind of locked into what I'm doing here. So, of course, Christian McCaffrey's going to go number 1. We're just going to snag Saquon Barkley here. No question. Look at these last 3 games here. I'm a big fan of Saquon Barkley, and I just tweeted out something today asking if there's one running back to beat Christian McCaffrey this year, who is it? And it's Saquon Barkley. That's like the easy answer. So I'm super excited and see what Saquon Barkley can do with a full season, year 2 of our boy Daniel Jones. That should be exciting. So yeah, let me just tweet out this link real quick here, and yeah, we'll see if we can get some people in the chat room, and we can answer your questions. And doing a best ball draft live. Out. All right, so here we are. We're moving around here. Ezekiel Elliott was the 3rd pick, and hopefully we get some people in the chat room soon. But yeah, anyways, Best Ball Championship Draft, it's a $5.50 entry, and what you can do is there's, I think, 10,008 teams, and they just keep filling up 12-team leagues. And what they're going to do is eventually we're going to, here, I'll see if I can show it. If I just click on the league real quick, the settings. So yeah, so far there's 8,424 spots. Payout to first is 10 grand. So we'll see if we can get a shot there. But they're going to pay out to the top 1,500. So I don't know what the percentage is, but you got to basically finish in the top 10%. So I have a handful of drafts already in here. I think I'll eventually show a video like showing my rostership, and we'll see what we can do there. But yeah, we're excited to draft here. We got a lot of information, so my things have been pivoting. I just uploaded my rankings and my tiers to the fantasyfellowship.com, so that's all good to go. And yeah, we're just kind of moving around here. I'll show you guys. If you're new to drafters.com, I just got my first referral, which was pretty cool. So this one's basically on the house. So if you sign up with my drafters code, which is in the link below, there's a link, or you can enter the code the Fellow KGB. But you'll get a 50% match bonus on your deposit. So if you put 20 bucks in, you're going to get an extra 10 bucks. So it's a good little promo. So go ahead and check that out. And I'll kind of recap here what we're doing in the first round. You can kind of click on the table here, and this will show the board. So Ezekiel Elliott went 3, Michael Thomas 4, Kamara, Cook, Clyde Edwards, Devontae Adams, Derrick Henry falling to 9. I think that's a really, really big value there. So I like that. Sanders at the 10, Mixon, Josh Jacobs. There's a lot of question marks with Sanders and Mixon right now. Mixon's kind of in a little standoff holdout. He's saying he's got migraines. It's the money migraines, I think. And then Miles Sanders, man, there's a lot of offensive line issues. They just lost Andre Dillard for the season. I think he had a torn bicep or something like that. And then today I saw another thing where Lane Johnson has been missing. I think he's been almost a full week of practice. And now their starting left tackle is just kind of not feeling it, and he wants to be paid more. So it's a little bit interesting here, and we'll see. I don't know. I'm kind of nervous about taking Miles Sanders in the first round. I think he looks best as your RB2. So I'm hoping this guy takes another running back here just to kind of hedge his bets. But you see Josh Jacobs get paired with Lamar Jackson here at the beginning of the second round. Kenyon Drake, that's a fine pairing. Joe Mixon and Drake. I think a lot of the running backs that I like to draft, I kind of view them as tandem. So if you get a top 6 pick, go ahead and take a running back. And I kind of have these, it's McCaffrey, Barkley, Henry, Elliott, Chubb. I have Chubb up pretty high. Dalvin Cook. So if you get any of these running backs, I guess Derrick Henry's there. But if you can get any of these running backs from Aaron Jones, Chubb, Eckler, Josh Jacobs, Connor, Sanders, Clyde, Kenyon Drake, Joe Mixon, if you can get those as your RB2, I think that's my preferred strategy at the moment. So this guy, fantastic. He gets Derrick Henry, who I have as my top 5 back, and then he gets Austin Eckler, who I have as my RB9 in a PPR league. So he got my 5th and my 9th running back available. So I'm targeting Aaron Jones here. For some reason, people are not into Aaron Jones, but if you can get him as your RB2, I think that's where the value starts to really lay. So we're moving along here. Aaron Jones, we didn't get Jones, but paired with Devontae Adams, that's an interesting Green Bay stack. We'll see. A lot of people are stacking in best ball league. That's kind of the preferred method. And then we see another team stack with Clyde Edwards and Tyreek Hill. So the fun part about best ball leagues is just seeing the roster construction. You can try a bunch of different new things. I usually hold my draft on Labor Day every year. So I just do a ton of best ball leagues to try to figure out where the value is and what the way the board lays. I try to figure that out. So you see Dalvin Cook, Travis Kelce. We're almost up to pick here in the second round. So I'm going to change back to the slider view and we can kind of look and see who we're looking at. So we're up in 4 picks. Nick Chubb would be great here. He's probably the last of these stud running backs, but again, he just got snagged. George Kittle here. Travis Kelce's gone, so George Kittle I'm interested in. He's got a little bit of a hamstring thing right now, but I'm not looking too much into that. And then with all the injuries at the 49ers receiver room right now, George Kittle is looking like a really good buy at the end of the second round. So if he falls to us at 23, I'm super into George Kittle. You see DeAndre Hopkins just go. So we're almost there. If we don't get Kittle, that's when kind of the well runs dry. So we pretty much missed out on all of the running backs that I was into. I guess the next one up would probably be James Conner, which we're going to have to maybe reach for here. And then we just missed on George Kittle here. So my board completely disintegrated. So now we're probably just going to take Patrick Mahomes because to me, I don't want to have questions with these picks. And I think a lot of people are nervous about Chris Godwin. He's kind of got a weird injury thing right now that's not being discussed. Kenny Golladay is a really good boom bust receiver, but I like a lot of the other receivers here too. But the one guy that I feel really confident in is going to be Patrick Mahomes, especially in a best ball league. There's a good chance that he's going to have a handful of 30-plus games, probably put up a 40-point game or two. So Pat Mahomes, definitely one of my targets here at the end of the second round. And then this guy takes James Conner. I was hoping to get Conner here. So looks like Allen Robinson. So we have a tough choice here between Chris Godwin and Kenny Golladay, maybe Amari Cooper or DJ Moore, the running back. So we could take Jonathan Taylor here, but I'm not really sure I want to do that. And yeah, we don't have a tight end to get. So I think I'm going to go with I'm just going to go with Chris Godwin because I feel really confident with Tom Brady throwing him the ball. I know the offensive is going to, I guess the whole offensive identity is going to change a little bit because you think about what Jameis Winston did with this team. I mean, Tampa Bay was a losing team last year. They got behind a lot, and when they were winning, Jameis Winston, would kind of put them in a position where the game would be back, to a tight game. So they were throwing the ball a lot. I still think they're going to throw the ball a ton, but the offense is going to be much more efficient this year. And I just think, Evans, Godwin, Gronkowski, OJ Howard, and then the running game. I'm totally comfortable with expecting Chris Godwin to be a wide receiver 1 this year. He's not going to probably be the wide receiver 2, but he's got top 5 upside as well as top 10 upside. So I'm into Chris Godwin here. Jonathan Taylor is the next pick. I mean, I could have taken Kenny Golladay, DJ Moore, Mike Evans, any of these guys here, but I feel pretty safe with Chris Godwin being my wide receiver 1. So we're moving along here. I'm going to switch back to the view of the table. Jonathan Taylor again. We're rolling around through the third round. I think the pick that I don't like the most right now is Allen Robinson here into the beginning of the third round. And I'm just thinking I don't really want to invest in the Bears at all this year. It's kind of a tricky situation. It doesn't sound like Nick Foles or Mitchell Trubisky are really running away with the opportunity to be the starting quarterback. And then David Montgomery goes down. I'm kind of just taking all the Bears off my board. Allen Robinson, I like him, but at this point, you're drafting him at his ceiling. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He was wide receiver 6 off the board, and I think he was wide receiver 7 or 8. So you're buying him at his ceiling. I can't do that. And we get Chris Godwin at wide receiver 7. So I feel like that's pretty fair value there. Same with Kenny Golladay, wide receiver 8. I think that's pretty good value. These guys have a good chance of finishing at that spot. So this is going to probably be like a good hour-long video, so we're gonna probably get into a lot of sleepers at the end, and we'll kind of just continue to just discuss players as they're taken off the board. DJ Moore is probably my favorite. If I had just said Okay, who are you going to target in the third round? I think DJ Moore is my favorite target even in like up here. I could have taken DJ Moore here at 26 if I wanted to, but I'm super excited about DJ Moore. The Carolina Panthers, their defense is going to be struggling this year, and pretty much the same story as last year. But now you're improving the quarterback play with Teddy Bridgewater, who I know is new, but I really like the offensive pieces around him. I like the new offensive structure and the play style that they're going to be using. And I just think DJ Moore is going to mesh really, really well with Teddy Bridgewater. Bridgewater stepped right into the Saints, and Michael Thomas didn't miss a beat. And if you think about the routes that Thomas and DJ Moore run, they're going to be very similar play styles. So I'm thinking DJ Moore has a chance for 90, 95, even 100 receptions this year. So to me, DJ Moore is going to be that potential Chris Godwin of 2019, who just destroys everything and could be a top 5 receiver this year. So we're seeing a huge wide receiver run in round 3, which is what I've been telling people to do all off season. So you see DJ Moore, Juju Smith-Schuster, Amari Cooper, Adam Thielen, Mike Evans. This is the wide receiver round, people. And I love seeing James Conner go in the second round. I wish we could have got him because we would have taken him at 26. But it's totally okay that we didn't get him. But yeah, I'm gonna double down and say pick your favorite wide receiver in round 3. I'm probably not taking Allen Robinson. I'm kind of interested in Juju, but I'm not gonna take Juju over Cooper, over Thielen, over Mike Evans. Calvin Ridley here is fair value. This guy here we go. We have a stack with Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. So that's the ATL stack. I like that. I'm just looking around for other quick stacks. Nothing that I'm noticing quite yet. Oh, man, this guy's got the Kamara Chubb start. That's a pretty good way to start your draft. And now we're entering the 4th round. So you see David Johnson here. Again, though, I think I really like the wide receiver value here. We might even snag like a guy like Zach Ertz or something at this turn. But you're really looking at the wide receivers here. So if I go back to the slider and we'll just kind of look at best available. I mean, Leonard Fournette, he's fine, but I feel safer with him as an RB3. I'm probably not drafting Melvin Gordon, Chris Carson, Le'Veon Bell, Mark Ingram. We're not drafting David Montgomery at all. But just look at this list of running backs. Like, I just don't feel confident in a lot of these guys. And if you filter the wide receiver tab, like A.J. Brown, hell yes, in a best ball league. Cooper Kupp, DJ Chark is a really good best ball receiver. Even Lockett, McLaurin. So if we can get any of these receivers to fall to us at the end of the 4th round, I think that's what we're going to be doing. DK Metcalf too, Cortland Sutton, Devontae Parker, Marquise Brown. Like, these wide receiver names are just so much more appealing than a lot of these running back names. So we're locked in with Saquon Barkley here as our RB1. Like, he's going to score, probably almost 16 games for us this year. So we really don't need to worry too much. Where now we can, in the mid to late rounds, we're going to pivot here and we're probably going to start snagging. We might look for Kareem Hunt or Raheem Mostert, even Akers, Ronald Jones, J.K. Dobbins, or we could look at some of the PPR backs like James White, Tariq Cohen, Phillip Lindsay, even Zach Moss. So I think I like the running back field a little bit more down the way. So we're just going to probably target receiver. We'll think about tight end when we get there. But let's just take a look at the table real quick. So we're looking at Todd Gurley to start the beginning of the 4th round, Robert Woods, Leonard Fournette, Cooper Kupp, Chris Carson. I noticed I got a couple people live on the stream right now. Is anyone drafting today? We can talk about draft positions and picks. Who would you take at pick 5 PPR? I think. Thanks for hanging out, Speed Hydra. But I think I'm going to take Derrick Henry at the 5th pick. Basically, if you're on the board at 5, you're looking at McCaffrey, but he's going to be gone. Barkley should be gone. So really, your decision is going to be probably between Ezekiel Elliott, Kamara, and then if you like Dalvin Cook or Derrick Henry. But for me, I'm really big into Derrick Henry. I would recommend looking here after I pick. I'm going to pull up some Derrick Henry numbers, and his back half of 2019 is pretty insane. And he was basically the 2nd best running back behind Christian McCaffrey. And then when you think about the Tennessee Titans backfield behind him, they had Deion Lewis there last year, which was nice. So he kind of, filled in on 3rd downs. But now they have a rookie, Darrington Evans. They got a guy named Senoris Perry, Dalen Dawkins, and Jeremy McNichols. So I don't really have too much confidence in the running backs behind Derrick Henry. So I just feel like Derrick Henry, he's going to get all the touches. So Dalvin Cook too, man. I'm kind of nervous. We're going to take A.J. Brown here because best ball. Like, you don't have to worry about his bad games. But the thing with Dalvin Cook, man, is you already know you're going to have the injury risk. And then he's got this contract thing. So does he have Yeah, I like Kamara. I think you're on the right track. So Kamara, Cook, and then Henry. But I'm really coming on to Henry. So we'll look at this table real quick here. So we missed out on Lockett and McLaurin. We got AJ Brown to pair with Chris Godwin. I'm slamming the receivers in this round a lot. So to me, I like to think about offenses, and like I know like a certain offense or a quarterback is like a good pairing, and I just think DK Metcalf in a best ball league is going to be a good time. You see, he had some really big games here. So now we got AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin. Feeling pretty good about that wide receiver core, and then yeah, we're set at quarterback, so we don't really need to take a quarterback for a really long time. Saquon Barkley, so we're going to probably look for maybe 2 or 3 running backs that can kind of compete for our RB2 spot. But let's take a look quick at the Derrick Henry numbers that I was talking about. FF today. And I know a lot of people are nervous about the Ryan Tannehill's efficiency and that Derrick Henry doesn't catch passes, but you see here, he's had an increase in targets and receptions every year. And then just look at what he does with these his yards per catch. He's consistently over 10 yards per catch. He caught 2 touchdowns last year. I just think that the Titans, they don't have a third down back really that they can trust. It wouldn't expect, like I could see maybe 25, 30 catches out of Henry this year. And then, just look at the touchdown upside too. But then if you look down at his game logs, I think at some point during, this 6, 7, 8, that's when Ryan Tannehill came to, into the starting situation. And then you just see this insanely high volume here for Derrick Henry, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, double 100-yard games. He even approached 200. He's got a good chance at 2 touchdowns almost every week. And then I think the steady part of his game is we're going to want to see him get these 2, 3 targets per game. I think that's what's going to help tip the scales for me. But yeah, I have no problem with Kamara, Henry. I'm putting Cook just behind those guys right now, just because there's a little bit more questions with him. Henry just got paid. He doesn't have that contract, looming over him. So that's kind of how I would look at it. But we're going to recap here, starting at we took DK Metcalf at the beginning of the 5th round. Cortland Sutton, Cam Akers, Devontae Parker, Marquise Brown, Keenan Allen, Zach Ertz. That's really good value for Zach Ertz in the 5th. Mark Ingram here too. So we'll see what we can get for value at the 6, 7 turn. I'll see if there's a running back I like. I'm sure Ronald Jones is going to get picked up at some point. He's an ideal best ball target. But yeah, Stephon Diggs in the 5th. I'm still really liking the wide receivers in the 6th round. If we can get one of Michael Gallup, Tyler Boyd, those would be ideal. Even Will Fuller at this point, just because when Will Fuller's healthy, he's got a really, really good chance of putting up a massive game. DeAndre Hopkins is out of town. So Will Fuller in a best ball league feels a little bit better. But again, he just went. So we're probably looking still at Michael Gallup and Tyler Boyd if they fall, but I would assume they're going to get taken pretty quickly here. But there's still some good running backs on the board, whether it's Kareem Hunt, Raheem Mostert, Ronald Jones. I really like J.K. Dobbins too. I don't think it's going to be too crazy to see him kind of start the season slow, but I think he's going to probably get more workload as we go on. So you draft in a week. So especially if Cook doesn't have a contract by then, Henry seems like a good choice. Yes, I would agree with that. If Cook were to say he signed on Monday, I think that's when you have to really consider, Dalvin Cook. If you look at here, let's go back to fftoday.com. We'll just click on stats, and we'll just filter by running backs here and go to PPR. But one thing I like to look at is this, fantasy points per game. And if you hit that button, you're going to see Dalvin Cook was technically the 2nd best running back on a points per game basis. He only played 14 games, but that every week that Cook's healthy and he's ready to go, he's a top 5 running back. So same thing with Derrick Henry. Like, look at these 2 guys here. I think your choice would be between these 2 guys. I get the Kamara hype too. Kamara played through a little bit of an injury last year. He still put up really good numbers. He averaged 18 points, and this is a down year for Alvin Kamara. So it's Cook, Henry, Kamara. I think those are all really good choices. But I'm kind of leaning towards Derrick Henry just because I have less concerns about everything around him. And I don't know, the Titans offense, man, it's kind of like we know what to expect with the Titans. They're going to pound the ball with Derrick Henry. They got A.J. Brown. Ryan Tannehill's going to probably run a little bit, and we'll see what Jonnu Smith can do. But I think it's a really good safe bet on the Tennessee Titans offense. So Deshaun Watson at the beginning of the 6th round, Ronald Jones here. I'm a big fan of Ronald Jones, but the board just didn't lay for us. If you can get Ronald Jones at the back of the 5th, early 6th, I think that's great value. I see him as a top 20 running back. So I'm really into Ronald Jones. And the Tampa Bay offense, man, they're going to be so much more efficient with Tom Brady this year. They're going to probably be living on the opponent's side of the field. And when they get into the red zone, you have to worry about, these receivers and Gronk. So Ronald Jones is going to have a lot of simple, fronts where he can probably just get through a crease and he's going to find the end zone a lot of times this year. So I love Ronald Jones in a best ball league. David Montgomery, we're not drafting any Bears, so we can probably take David Montgomery off of our board. But as we get a little bit closer here, so we know we're not taking a quarterback. And as far as tight ends go, I'm not really interested in paying up for Waller, Ingram, or anything like that. We're probably going to punt at tight end, and maybe we'll get, Gronk, or we'll look at some of these guys like Fant, Jonnu Smith, even, there's just so many tight ends there. So we're still going to be looking at the wide receiver in the running back position. And we got Michael Gallup, Tyler Boyd still on the board. So if we can get one of those guys, super excited to do that. Kareem Hunt's a really good value in the 6th round. I don't think he's going to take too much value away from Nick Chubb. I did see a stat today that said it was by Pro Football Focus, and they said that Nick Chubb was on the field for 79% of Kareem Hunt's snaps. So those guys are going to be on the field a lot together this year. There's already the news that Kareem Hunt's going to be used a little bit more as a slot receiver. So Kareem Hunt in the 6th, if you go into the draft and you only have like one running back towards the 5th or the 6th round, I think Kareem Hunt's a really good play in PPR leagues. He's going to be on the field a lot. And I don't know, the new coach in Cleveland, Kevin Stefanski, he did play at he was the coach at Minnesota. So if you kind of think back to when they had like Latavius Murray and Jerick McKinnon, and I think Dalvin Cook got hurt for a little bit that year, but they're going to run the ball a ton. So, and if anything happens to Nick Chubb, you got a potential league winner in Kareem Hunt. So he's one of those guys that I really like in the 6th round. And as we're moving up here, we missed on Michael Gallup, we missed on Tyler Boyd. So that kind of sucks. But we'll see what we got for running backs here. So Raheem Mostert, I know like the 49ers, man, the receiver room is decimated right now. Like they don't really have any healthy receiver besides Kendrick Bourne. I know Deebo Samuel started running a little bit this week, so I like Deebo Samuel a little bit later. But as far as running backs left that have a starting role and are going to get a lot of carries, Raheem Mostert's really the last guy. So it kind of sucks that he's got a week 11 bye. That's the same bye as Saquon Barkley. But as far as best ball, I'm not going to worry too much about that because we'll find another couple guys. So we just kind of locked in our RB2 spot. If I look at my rankings real quick here, I mean, I got Raheem Mostert as the RB23. I got him going for 9 rushing touchdowns and even catching one. So he's gonna be used pretty heavily in the run game. I got him flirting with almost 200 carries, almost 1,000 yards. So he's definitely one of those, RB2s or RB3s that I think have a really good chance of popping off. And at the 6th round, the opportunity is pretty cheap. So Jarvis Landry, Darren Waller go. I don't really know if there's a running back here that I need to have. I mean, I still like Cohen, Lindsey, Moss later. So maybe we'll add one more receiver here, whether that's Marvin Jones. He's a really good best ball candidate. Julian Edelman, super intriguing because, I mean, I think Cam Newton is going to gel with Edelman. And he's got a week 6 bye. We got Metcalf on 6. So we got really boom bust receivers here, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf. And then Godwin's going to be a little bit more consistent. I think I'm going to go with Julian Edelman just because, I mean, he's going to have some big games, and I know they're going to be pretty much what they were last year in terms of efficiency. But Edelman, it's an easy bet to say that he's going to lead the team in targets. I know N'Keal Harry is there, but he's not going to be commanding 6, 7, 8 targets per game like Edelman is. So I just think Edelman, and then so with this best ball lineup, we're going to start 1 quarterback, we're going to start 2 running backs, we're going to start 3 wide receivers. So Edelman's going to be competing for a flex play. So that's going to be, hopefully 8 to 10 points at the worst. And then, on a good week, it's going to be upwards to, 16, 20 points. So I feel really good there. Our receiver room is looking pretty stacked and pretty well balanced. Godwin and Edelman will be high receptions. Brown and Metcalf are going to be high yards. So those guys will mesh well together. And then now, I mean, basically at this point, after the 7th round, this is when you want to pivot and start thinking about who do I need to have on my bench, guys that will compete for starting roles, whether that's the RB2 spot or that's your flex spot. But we're probably going to keep swerving on tight end. So I'm trying to look here. So, I mean, Dak Prescott in the 7th round is one of the best values. You think about the Dallas offense, he's 5,000, passing yard offense, and the weapons are insane. I think because we missed out on Michael Gallup, we didn't get Amari Cooper. We don't have any Dallas pieces, so that really just means CeeDee Lamb and Blake Jarwin are like the last two guys standing. So we might try to get those guys. And then as far as like other offenses, we don't have any Kansas City Chiefs, so maybe well, we have Mahomes, so we should probably try to target Mecole Hardman. I don't know if we're going to invest in Sammy Watkins, but Hardman's a really interesting guy in best ball leagues. I think he had 6 or 7 touchdowns last year, so he could be a play. I'm trying to think of the other offenses here that I like. Yeah, CeeDee Lamb's up here, Mecole Hardman's here, and then I've been hearing really good things of Jerry Jeudy. I don't know, Speed Hydra. I don't know if you're into drafting any rookie wide receivers this year, but I'm a big fan of the Football Guys website, and they have one of their co-owners, Cecil Lammey. He's a reporter for the Denver Broncos, and he was on one of their live shows earlier this week, and he said that Jerry Jeudy looks amazing. No one can cover him. Apparently, he's the best at social distancing in Broncos camp right now. So Drew Lock is starting to figure out that Jerry Jeudy is open a lot, and he's going to be his security blanket this year. And if you think about Cortland Sutton, Sutton kind of wins deep, and he can win in 50-50 situations. But I have a feeling as the season goes on that Jerry Jeudy is going to be highly efficient, and Drew Lock's going to just continue to feed him the ball, because it sounds like, Jerry Jeudy's getting open quickly. So if Locke can, drop back and see, okay, I got Sutton, I can throw a 50-50 ball to him, or otherwise I know Jerry Jeudy is going to be opening up in the slot. So as far as investment into the 8th or 9th round, I think Jerry Jeudy could be a guy as your 4th or 5th receiver that could be super steady in PPR leagues. I think I got Jerry Jeudy going for almost 70 receptions this year, and we'll see if he can flirt with 800 or 900 yards. But I'm just getting really good feelings about Jerry Jeudy here. And rookie receivers, CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy, I think those would be my top 2 targets. And then later on in the draft, we can look at a couple other guys that I like. But I would highly recommend trying to target a rookie receiver, in the 8th, 9th, 10th rounds. And then we'll kind of pivot, because we need running back. We're a little bit running back shy here, but we can make this work. We got Saquon Barkley, who we know we're not going to leave him. He's just going to be in our RB1 spot all year. So we need to find someone that can compete with Raheem Mostert. And if Mostert, are you talking about one of the rookie receivers? Just because you're probably drafting in a home league, right? So home leagues are not as savvy as some of these best ball drafts. There's a lot of people that, a lot of these people in these best ball drafts are fantasy professionals. So they kind of reach on guys. But you could probably get, Jerry Jeudy in the 10th, 11th round, I would bet. You just kind of watch your board. I don't know what rankings or cheat sheets you're going to be using, but just kind of monitor that. And you can always just don't be afraid to just slightly reach on him. I think he's going to be a guy that after the first couple, same with CeeDee Lamb, after we see 1 or 2 games from these guys, people are going to be like, holy crap, how did we not see this? And I just had Sigmund Bloom on one of my podcasts on Thursday, and he just raved about CeeDee Lamb. We didn't talk about Jerry Jeudy, but he absolutely raved about CeeDee Lamb. They're going to be using CeeDee Lamb in the slot. And I think Randall Cobb was wide receiver 42 last year. Yeah, so if you're in leagues with friends, you're gonna have a good time. So we just missed out on Zach Moss. Moss is an ideal target because ESPN. I'm actually a good fan of ESPN. I think that's where I run most of my leagues on. So I'm just gonna look at running backs real quick. The fact that David Montgomery's hurt. He's probably not going to play the first week for sure. Maybe the first week or 2 or 3. So Tariq Cohen, man, he's from a best ball standpoint. I don't have to worry about his down weeks. I just want to get his good weeks. And the thing about Tariq Cohen is he admittedly said he had a bad year last year, and he had some family issues and he wasn't conditioned as well throughout the season. But it sounds like he's on track, and he's a 100 target guy. And this Bears offense, we don't think it's going to be very good. They're probably going to be down behind and throwing a lot. So I think, Cohen as our RB3, he'll dang it, we got all 3 running backs on week 11 bye, but that'll be all right. So, running backs here, Matt Breida, Tevin Coleman, Philip Lindsay, Keyshawn Vaughn. I don't know how much I like those guys. I think I'm just going to take Jerry Jeudy here just because he's our wide receiver 5. He's one of the best on the board, and he's going to be a guy that can compete with Julian Edelman for our flex. So I feel pretty confident about having him there. And then now we're basically just set up to start snagging a bunch of running back handcuffs. So, and I'm assuming you're probably in a 12-team league on ESPN. And then you said you're in the second spot, or you're in the fifth spot. So in the fifth spot, you're probably going to be looking. I don't know if you like the tight end, but if Travis Kelce falls there, I think that's really good value. And I kind of talked at the top of the show. If you can get any of these running backs to fall to your RB2 spot, so you're going to take a running back. We know you're going to take a running back with your fifth pick, but if you can get Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, Eckler, Kenyon Drake, even Josh Jacobs, you can get any of those guys to fall to your RB2 spot. I think that's, oh man, that's going to be the way to go. But if I can't get one of those running backs, I think I want Travis Kelce. And I don't know if you like investing high in quarterback, but Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes would be ideal, picks there. So it's a 10-team league. Okay. So yeah, you're probably going to get in a 10-team league, you have a really good chance of getting Nick Chubb, Jones, Eckler, even Kenyon Drake. You're probably going to get one of these running backs to fall to you. So I think that's going to be probably your best fit. And I don't know, what's your I don't know where you're from, but is there like a certain hometown team that gets like boosted? Like I'm from Green Bay. So when I go to Green Bay, we know Devontae Adams becomes like a top 6 pick. Aaron Jones is probably like picked at like the 12th or 13th pick. So those guys just get boosted up. So everyone's draft is a little bit weird. It really depends on location and where you are. So it's just kind of funny. Like Aaron Rodgers always goes like second or third round. It's just kind of stupid at some point. But I don't know. So we're looking pretty good here. We got 5 wide receivers that I feel really confident about. And so I'm probably going to ignore wide receivers for now because there's a lot of guys that I like later in the draft. But I really would like to add on to our running back room here. And we got Pat Mahomes. So we're really good there. So we're basically just looking at filling out running back depth, and we'll start to target tight ends. Like Rob Gronkowski's still available. Mike Gesicki would be a good guy. I'm interested in Hooper and Cook. Like there's just like this whole list just kind of keeps going. One of the guys that's really growing on me is I love Blake Jarwin. I love Chris Herndon. I know nobody likes the Jets. Like we just don't want anything to do with the Jets. But it just doesn't sound like they're going to have New York friends are from different teams. Okay, so it's going to be a pretty well-balanced draft, and people are going to, take things as big Eagles fan in the 8th. Okay, so let them have Sanders. That's cool. I think that's a little bit of a reach for Sanders at 8. And then, I mean, Philadelphia's offensive line, man, they just lost their starting left tackle, Andre Dillard, yesterday with torn biceps. And then their other tackle, Lane Johnson, is not practicing right now. And then one of their other who's their Philadelphia Eagles? I don't know who their other they signed a right guard this year, and he says he wants to Jason Peters. They signed him to play guard, and now they want him to play tackle. And he's like, there's a money issue. I want to be paid as a left tackle or whatever. So I really don't know if I trust the Eagles offensive line. If you think about the Eagles as a whole, I mean, I feel really confident about Zach Ertz in, the 5th. I would probably take Ertz somewhere at the end of the 4th, early 5th. I think that's where I'd be comfortable taking a tight end if you wanted to get one early. But then, I mean, the receiver room too is Jalen Reagor's a rookie. I like Reagor. He's probably still on the board, is he not? No, he just went a little bit ago. Let's see where he went. So yeah, he went in the 8th round. I think if I'm not taking Jalen Reagor over CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy, that's for sure. I'm trying to think of any other Eagles. Boston Scott. I mean, if you're into the pass catching running backs for the Eagles, I think even in our draft right now, we might target Boston Scott because he's a PPR back, and we don't really need to worry about what week he starts for us. We just have to get him. So wow, okay, Chris Herndon just went 10th round. So this is a guy that a lot of people are moving up their draft boards real quick. He was down here as like under Blake Jarwin and Jack Doyle. So someone really like Chris Herndon enough more than all these tight ends to take him. And I think a lot of the receivers are banged up in New York right now. The running back room's a mess. Like we're just not drafting running backs in New York. But it sounds like Chris Herndon's been like the standout in camp. And Sam Darnold's having a really good connection with him. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. We don't like their offense or their defense. So it's going to be a bad team. So there could be a lot of volume for Chris Herndon. But yeah, 10th round. We used to be able to get Herndon in like the 15th, 16th round. So he's a guy that's definitely on the up and up. So I don't know what your tight end preferences would be. But I love getting, I always try to get 2 guys that I feel really confident about in the double-digit rounds. So at the moment right now, that's probably Jonnu Smith, TJ Hawkinson, Goddard, Blake Jarwin. If we can get Any of these guys, I feel really good about that, and those guys will probably just trade off. And I mean, at worst, someone will get like 8 points on a week, and that's fine because we're not really paying up for tight end. So let's take a look at the running backs real quick, though. We're going to be probably needing one. So a couple guys stick out to me from a PPR standpoint, whether that's Duke Johnson. Chase Edmonds is a pretty good handcuff to Kenyon Drake, and I'm really not sure I feel comfortable calling Chase Edmonds a handcuff. I mean, they were ready to give Chase Edmonds the RB1 workload last year. And because he went down with a hamstring injury against the Saints, they had to make a trade. They had to go get Kenyon Drake. So they really like Edmonds. I don't think he's going to be – he's kind of like a Boston Scott type handcuff where they're going to use him in games. He's still going to, catch maybe 2 balls a game, and he's probably going to get maybe 6 or 7 carries. So he's got 8 to 10 touches per game. And if anything happens – I mean, Kenyon Drake's already in a walking boot. They're saying that's precaution. But I mean, if anything happens to Kenyon Drake, Chase Edmonds is one of those. Look at like Edmonds just went, so someone was thinking along the same lines as me. So I love getting Chase Edmonds there. The receivers here, I don't really care for those. We're just doing our due diligence here. Tight end, I'm wondering if we take 2 tight ends here, but I would really like to get a running back, whether that's Boston Scott. I don't really know if anyone else is sticking out. I'm gonna probably get Naheem Hines later. And then there's a couple other guys back here. So I'm just gonna pivot here. We're gonna punt. We're gonna take Jonnu Smith here, just because I think he's gonna be the second leading target in Tennessee. We already have AJ Brown, so maybe it's a good idea to stack Ryan Tannehill with us. But I mean, you can probably tell I'm a big fan of the Titans offense because it's pretty predictable. Like they're gonna run with Derrick Henry, they're gonna throw to AJ Brown, they're gonna throw to Jonnu Smith. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they're gonna throw a little bit more to Derrick Henry. And then we'll see what Corey Davis and Adam Humphries can do. But I like investing in situations where I know what's going to happen. So I think we can kind of wait. I mean, there's a long wait for the next tight end to run. Maybe we should grab a tight end here, but I'm gonna gamble a little bit and see if anyone falls. I'm just gonna go ahead here and take Boston Scott because, man, we don't trust that Philadelphia offensive line. You think about Boston Scott. Let me just pull up Boston Scott's numbers last year. I don't know if he ranked anywhere. But towards the end of the year when Jordan Howard went down, they were using Boston Scott and Miles Sanders pretty much evenly on the same field at the same time. So he finished with 5 rushing touchdowns. He caught 24 of 26 targets, 204 yards, 8.5 yards per catch, and he averaged 9 fantasy points per game. But he really didn't start getting volume until week 14. And keep in mind, this is with a healthy Miles Sanders in the game. Now, they won their last 4 games, but this is, NFC East defenses totally do not scare me. So, you see 10 rushing attempts and look at 6 targets, 7, 6, 6. I think because of the receiver room, it's not that great. And we know they're going to target tight ends, but they're going to still target these running backs. He's kind of like a poor man's Darren Sproles, but look at 6, 7, 6, 4 catches. He's got some really good PPR floor here. I think on a bad, this would be a bad game from Boston Scott, whether he gets 6 for 25 and then he's going to catch 3 for 23. This is a bad game, 7.8 points. So if anything crazy happens in our best ball roster here, we'll just take our 8 points. So what do you think about Gurley and Fournette this year? Okay, I'm glad you said RB3 because that's basically where I would feel comfortable taking them as. I'd be a little bit nervous to start them as my running back too. But I mean, if you're looking at the board and let's see where these guys went. So nobody in the third. You see that here. I just look at the third round. Look at all these receivers here. I think that's where I'm not taking Gurley, Fournette in the third round. I'm targeting one of these receivers here, preferably DJ Moore if he falls. And I think Mike Evans and Calvin Ridley, these guys are really safe offenses to invest in. But then you see Todd Gurley go here. So I think as long as Todd Gurley's healthy, he's going to be a strong RB2. But it's a little bit concerning. So I guess you'd have to. Would you feel comfortable passing on guys like one of the Rams receivers, those guys, one of the Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods? One of those guys is probably finishing as a top 12 receiver, and the other one's probably a top 15 or 20 wide receiver. So those guys are pretty much locked into a good situation. And then you see all these other running backs here go in the 4th round. But it kind of goes back to what I said is I feel, you see DJ Chark, AJ Brown, Tyler Lockett, Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf. I really, really like all those receivers. So for me, I guess I haven't been taking in the fourth. You have to pay a 4th round pick for these guys, so I haven't really been doing that as much because I just feel like there's questions. There's questions with Gurley, with Fournette. We don't really know what they're going to do. But say you start really heavy with 2 running backs, and then if you collect Fournette with your 4th round pick, like your running back room is set. I still think he's going to catch. He's not going to catch I think he had 100 targets last year. He's probably not going to see that because Chris Thompson's there. I think he caught like 70 some balls. Maybe it was 76. So maybe he catches like 60, 65 catches this year, whatever. So he's still going to have a safe kind of PPR floor where a bad game is probably going to be 9 or 10 points. And then he's as in a flex role. I think Fournette and Gurley could be fine. But my preference has been wide receivers there. And then if I wanted a running back later, I'm targeting guys like Cam Akers, maybe Mark Ingram, Ronald Jones, Kareem Hunt, even Dobbins and Mostert. So these are the guys that I've kind of been looking for in the 5th or 6th round. But I totally get it. And I'm glad you said RB3. I think that's the correct value where they look fine. And then basically at your RB3, like there's nothing to lose. Like they're going to be probably RB2s every week they're healthy, but you're putting them in a position of value. So I think that could be a part of your plan if that's how you wanted to do it. But I'm just going to kind of recap here. We're moving into the 12th round. We're starting to see a lot of backup running backs go. We're seeing quarterbacks go. Daniel Jones, Cam Newton, Jared Goff. Austin Hooper is the only tight end left. So our gamble's kind of paying off here. It looks like we're going to get one of the tight ends to fall to us. Preferably Hawkinson, Goddard, or Jarwin. I'd love to if we can get 2 of those guys, that'd be cool. But our running back room is Saquon Barkley. We're locked in there. Raheem Mostert. Does Gurley have any competition? So it's interesting. There's a lot of competition for the backup role. If we look quick at the running backs, where's Todd Gurley? So let me click on Todd Gurley here. So here's the depth chart. They got Ito Smith, who's more of the pass catcher. Brian Hill would be more of like the banger. And I guess Quadre Ollison too. Ollison he's like their big back. Like, so look at this. He had 22 rushing attempts last year and he had 4. So this is their goal line back. And this guy might even steal some carries from Todd Gurley at the goal line if they're trying to keep him fresh. So I like Quadre Ollison as a touchdown back. Again, Brian Hill. Brian Hill's, he's going to run for about 4 yards per carry. He's going to be a steady pass catcher. He's probably the better all-around back. But then Ito Smith is going to kind of come in, and he's going to be more of the PPR back. So if anything happens to Todd Gurley, it's looking like a full-blown running back by committee. But I would say, he's like, there was a blurb that came out from their offensive coordinator saying they're going to get Todd Gurley in the range of 15 to 25 touches. So any week that he's healthy, I think you're probably going to have a good time. And he's a good pass catcher. So I just want to look at the Falcons' schedule real quick because that could be – Todd Gurley could be one of those guys that just helps us get off to a hot start. So Seattle, not a very good run defense. Dallas, not a good run defense. Chicago is kind of tougher. But then you get Green Bay. You saw what Raheem Mostert did to them last year. Carolina, not good. So 4 of his first 5 games, he's playing against bottom 10 defenses in the running game. So I guess you're kind of convincing me that Todd Gurley in the 4th round might be an ideal spot. If you prefer Gurley over some of those receivers, I'm not going to challenge you on that. So yeah, I think that's and then I guess if you draft Gurley, you could, with your last pick, you could take a guy like Brian Hill or someone if you wanted to hedge that. But let's see here. We're up to pick. We got our tight ends on the board here. As far as running backs go, I like Nyheim Hines. He's going to catch a lot of passes from Phillip Rivers. We're going to go ahead here and take, though, our guy. I'm taking Blake Jarwin because we weren't able to get a piece of the Dallas offense. So now we got Jonnu Smith and Blake Jarwin. I have both of these tight ends. This is why I love waiting on tight ends because so I do my own projections. And at the moment right now in a PPR league, I got Jonnu Smith, tight end 9, and Blake Jarwin, tight end 11. TJ Hawkinson and Dallas Goedert are right there too. I have Herndon at 14. This is a really good block of tight ends here that I like to draft. So Gardner Minshew, Alan Lazard go off the board. Man, it'd be really cool to get another tight end, but I think we could wait because there's some guys I like later. We're kind of covered there. I just think Nyheim Hines in a best ball league is going to be a little bit more helpful for us. So we'll go ahead and take Nyheim Hines there. And Miles Sanders or James Conner. There's a chance you could get both of them on your team. Sanders is going to cost upwards of a first round pick. So we see here Sanders went 10th overall, and James Conner went back here at 24. So for you to be able to get both guys, you're probably going to have to be James Conner would have to fall all the way to the end of the third round for you. But for me, if I look at my projections real quick, I think I have James Conner ranked a little bit higher than. Yeah, I have James Conner as my RB11, and where's Sanders? Sanders is 12. So, but look at they're separated by half a point. And I kind of talked at the top of the show, the injuries to the Philadelphia offensive line are concerning. And then you think about Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's got a top 5 offensive line. They have a legit defense. Ben Roethlisberger's healthy. Like, I think people are kind of sleeping on. No problem, Speed Hydra. I just think Pittsburgh is in a position to succeed, and I think James Conner. Any week that James Conner is healthy, he's going to be a top 10 back. Miles Sanders has the PPR upside. If you wanted to say, I don't know where you're picking Alligator Feed 11. I don't know where you're picking in your first round, but it wouldn't be crazy for you to start Sanders and James Conner. You could take James Conner in the second round. I don't care if you have to reach on him. But yeah, I like both guys. Where do you pick in your first round? So we're looking at quarterbacks. We're moving around into the 13th round. I don't know if you guys play best ball at all, but best ball is a really good way to build rosters and kind of just look to see where the board's falling for certain players. We're starting to see some backup wide receivers here. I like Alan Lazard in the best ball league. Paris Campbell's been pretty shifty. Justin Jefferson, Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson. Keyshawn Vaughn, guys, we're not drafting Keyshawn Vaughn at all. 5th pick, it's a keeper league, PPR. Okay, so yeah, you have a decision between Conner and Miles Sanders. So that's a little bit tougher because probably in a keeper league, you probably have more value with Sanders down the line. James Conner, I'm wondering if you could probably draft James Conner. If you draft 5th, I would bet you have a really good chance at drafting James Conner. So I think just because of name value, if you let Miles Sanders go, he's probably like the top 3-4 pick. So I don't think you'd have a good chance at getting Sanders to fall back to you. But Conner, if Conner's available with the 5th pick, I think that could be fine. But yeah, that's probably how I would do it. I have a really tough decision this week. Next Saturday, I have a keeper draft. And we don't have a running back, and we have the 101. So I have to decide between Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jonathan Taylor, which is I still don't know what the hell to do. So I've been kind of reaching out to people and asking questions. But yeah, I appreciate you guys in the chat room getting good questions. I haven't really been doing a lot. This is my first week of doing some live feeds, so I'm trying to just get used to it and answering questions in the chat room. But yeah, this is fun. When is your draft, Alligator Feed? I'm going to start looking for some quarterbacks that we like in the back end. Our running back room is Saquon Barkley, Raheem Mostert, Tariq Cohen, Boston Scott, Naheem Hines. So we're starting to get some guys that, Cohen, Scott, Hines, these are really good PPR backs. And I'm starting to feel good about the receiver room, the running back room. Basically everything's set, so we can just kind of start picking our value. We could use a quarterback. Joe Burrow, Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill sticks out here because we already have A.J. Brown and Jonnu Smith on the team. That's a good opportunity to stack those guys. So if A.J. Brown catches 2 touchdowns one week, Ryan Tannehill could be starting for us. Jonnu Smith could do the same thing. So and that's another thing too. And in your redraft or your keeper leagues, it's not always something that you have to do, but if you have a guy like Devontae Adams, you're more excited to draft Aaron Rodgers. If you have Julio Jones, you're inclined to draft Matt Ryan because when those guys score, it's just it's the double whammy. So I like stacking tight ends. I think that's not tight ends, but quarterbacks with my receivers, and then yeah, you can even stack them with tight ends. Like if you could start your draft with like Kelsey and Mahomes, like that would be kind of wicked. Your keepers are Drake, Adams, and Thielen, and my draft is in 2 hours. Okay, so you have to basically decide at the 5th pick if you want Sanders or Conner. Is that correct? Nice keepers too. Kenyon Drake, Adams, and Thielen. Fantastic. I've got Devontae Adams is one of my keeper receivers. I think I have to make the tough decision to keep Calvin Ridley or Tyler Lockett. I'm kind of struggling on that one. And then do you have any like keeper rules? Like is player X kept in like a certain round, or is it just straight up like you just get the guy and the draft is as normal? So the tight ends are kind of filling out here. I don't know if I like the tight end room. Wide receiver, we only have 5 receivers, so I'm going to probably pivot to start taking some of the receivers I like at the end of the draft. Steven Sims Jr., the slot receiver for Washington, is one of the guys I really like. Audin Tate is going to be one of the guys for Cincinnati that I like. We can get him in a little bit. The receivers are really starting to get thin here, though, but we got 5 really good ones. The running backs, I'm looking here. Some of the guys that I follow have really been talking up this Josh Kelly for the Chargers. He's a guy that could take over the big back role and start. I'm gonna go ahead here though and snag my backup quarterback Ryan Tannehill. So now we're set. We got Mahomes, we got Tannehill. Things are looking really good here. So we got 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, looks like 5 receivers and 2 tight ends. So at this point, we're just drafting depth pieces and guys that could potentially start for us. I'm gonna just filter here. So we're not taking a quarterback. We're good there. We could take a tight end, a guy like Irv Smith Jr. or O.J. Howard here. That would really complete our tight end room. But the receivers are getting a little thin for me. I like Steven Sims, Hunter Renfrow, John Ross, Randall Cobb. I think we got to get one of these guys. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and take Steven Sims Jr. It's normal. It's a snake. Perfect. Okay. So I would imagine like your first 2, it's like someone's taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jonathan Taylor with those first 2 picks. So I guess you're deciding between Sanders or James Conner. That's tough because I don't know where you're from. Like if you're in Pittsburgh, you probably have to, take Conner earlier than most. Or I guess location, varies. Like I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin. So I don't know if you're in here when I was talking about it earlier, but Devontae Adams is a top 5 pick. Aaron Jones is a top 12 pick. Rodgers gets, picked as a top 5 quarterback. Like that kind of stuff just gets a little crazy sometimes, but it happens. So yeah, man, tough decision. But like I said, I got James Conner ranked ahead of Miles Sanders. So I don't think that's too crazy to do that. And James Conner's value has been shooting up draft boards. We used to be able to get him in the 4th round, and now he's going as early as like pick 22, 23, 24. And then again, Miles Sanders, he's a great playmaker, but I think from a running back standpoint, James Conner's a little bit better runner. Maybe Sanders is the better receiver. But the man caught 50 receptions last year, 500 yards, 10 yards per catch, 3 touchdowns. And then let's just look and see at his game log. So a bad game for him is going to be about 10 points. When they committed to him last year when Jordan Howard went down, this is kind of what you can expect out of him. He's probably going to put up some big games every now and then, but then he's got this range of 10 to 12 points as his floor. I'm trying to think. I don't know what he had a lower body injury that they kind of haven't been talking about. I don't know if they're just trying to make sure he stays healthy and kind of keep him on ice kind of thing. But I guess from a standpoint of draft value, names hold weight. So there's a really good chance that you could take Miles Sanders at the 5th pick, and you could get James Conner on the turnaround. I don't know how many people are keeping running backs and whatnot, but I would probably say, especially for a keeper league, I would probably take Miles Sanders, even with the concerns of the offensive line. He went 10th overall here. Conner went 24th, so I think that kind of just paints the picture for you. But anyways, we're moving into the 16th round here. At this point in the draft, like these guys are all going to be, last pick options for you guys in your redraft leagues. We got so you're probably going to want to, if you get a top end quarterback, you don't really need a backup. You can pick a guy up. I'm not really interested in Phillip Rivers, Carr, Tyrod Taylor, so we can ignore quarterback. The tight ends that I like at the end of the draft would be Irv Smith Jr., O.J. Howard, Greg Olsen. People are kind of sleeping on Greg Olsen. Olsen had a decent year last year. He was kind of inconsistent, but the quarterback play was atrocious last year for those guys. So if I look here, and I just think going to Russell Wilson, Greg Olsen, if you look at what he did last year, Greg Olsen was tight end 13 last year, and now he gets Russell Wilson. So he's a guy that, I mean, you can get him as your tight end too and see what happens, but I just think he's going to be a really like reliable target for Wilson. And you think about Metcalf and Lockett, like people are going to be so concerned about those guys that Greg Olson's going to, kind of just be chilling and dinking and dunking. So I like that. As far as running backs at the end of the draft, I kind of mentioned there's a rookie running back here named Josh Kelly. This might be a guy that keep on your radar. This is going to be a name you're going to want to watch, for the first couple games of the season. But if we see Josh Kelly falling into the end zone in the short yardage situations, they're not going to give Austin Eckler, 200 plus carries. They're going to try to establish the run with Josh Kelly. And it sounds like I know Justin Jackson is there too. I think he's like a third or fourth year running back, but Josh Kelly is running he's running with the ones over Justin Jackson right now. So he's a guy that I guess my comparison for Josh Kelly would be Jordan Howard. I don't know how much passing work he's going to get, especially with Eckler there, but there's a chance Josh Kelly finds the end zone, 4 or 5 times this year as a rookie, and he's got some room to impress. So I think I'm into Josh Kelly. And then we were talking about James Conner a little bit earlier too, but it sounds, by all accounts, it sounds like Benny Snell is the primary backup. And if you're worried, if you think Conner's injury prone and he's going to get hurt, you should probably throw a late round dart at Benny Snell, because let's just take a look at Benny Snell's numbers last year because Conner missed a handful of games last year. I think he only played 10 games. But if we look at what Benny Snell did last year down the stretch, so week 17 against Baltimore, 18 carries, 91 yards and a touchdown. I think Baltimore was on, they were kind of on coast. And then you get 2 other games here where 21 carries, 98 yards, 11.3 fantasy points, 16 for 63 and a touchdown, 13.7. So these games where he is basically starting, like this Arizona game was, clearly a bad game. But the games where he gets a lot of carries, it looks like he's going to be a guy that could be fantasy worthy. So file that name away, Benny Snell. He can be your walk-off pick. Like I'm probably going to, I don't know how many rounds you do. I do a 16-round draft. So I'm probably going to snag Benny Snell with the last pick, and we'll go from there. But yeah, these guys are high on my board. It looks like I missed out on Josh Kelly. I'm looking for Benny Snell Jr. I'm going to bump Benny Snell up. We talked about the Atlanta backs a little bit. And yeah, I think that's the last running back that I want to get. And then we're going to probably target a receiver here. I'm going to go ahead here and look for Audin Tate. Audin Tate's been the training camp MVP in Cincinnati. So it sounds like him and Joe Burrow are meshing really well. Marquez Valdes-Scantling might be a guy to keep an eye on. I'm looking for the name Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne's going to probably be one of the primary receivers right away for the 49ers. Larry Fitzgerald's still on the board. So we're looking at these 3 receivers as, potential buys. The tight ends, OJ Howard wouldn't be a bad buy. But like I said, I still like Greg Olsen. Not a lot of people are into Greg Olsen. And we got 2 good tight ends here, so I don't really know if we need a tight end at the moment. But I'm looking at I'm at the end of my draft. I'm just looking for players who could be handcuffs, or they're going to be thrown into situations at some point during the year where they can succeed. So to me, that's Benny Snell Jr. We saw that he was a usable fantasy running back last year, and it sounds like I read that Benny Snell lost some weight. I think he's down 10 or 12 pounds, and it's kind of like the Le'Veon Bell story, where Bell kind of showed up his rookie year a little bit heavier. He trimmed down, and then his agility and his jump cuts and everything kind of just blossomed from there. So I'm into Benny Snell. I'm into the whole Pittsburgh offense as a whole. And again, if the common narrative on James Conner is he's going to get hurt. So if you want to just hedge your bet, say you can draft James Conner at the end of the 2nd or the 3rd round, and then you could just easily get Benny Snell Jr. at the end of your draft, and then you don't really have to think about it, because as long as Ben Roethlisberger is healthy and that offense is, last year, even when the offense in Pittsburgh, was with Devlin Hodges and Mason Rudolph, James Conner and Benny Snell still produced. So any games that we get out of Ben Roethlisberger is going to be a good time for our running backs. So here we go. I'm drafting Benny Snell Jr. And now my running backs room looks like Saquon Barkley. So he's going to be locked in to my RB1 spot every week. And then I just need one of these guys to put up a game for an RB2, whether that's Raheem Mostert, Tariq Cohen, Boston Scott, Naheem Hines, or Benny Snell. So I'm feeling pretty confident about that running back room. Our wide receiver room, Chris Godwin, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Julian Edelman, Jared Jeudy, Steven Sims. So let's take a look at the receivers real quick. I'm just going to go ahead here and take my guy, Audin Tate. I want to show you guys his numbers from last year. And again, I just want to point out that from the Bengals training camp, all their beat reporters are saying that this is the training camp MVP right now. He's really gelling with Joe Burrow. Let's looking at some of his game logs here. So we see 14.8, a 9. You know, we're seeing a lot of double-digit games here, and if he doesn't get double digits, he's in the high 9s. So whether he gets, you know, this could be a typical stat line that we see from Audin Tate. And then really, he only had the 1 touchdown, but it sounds like Joe Burrow's been really connecting with him. So I'm really into Audin Tate, and he could be one of those guys that you draft as your last pick. You think about the Bengals. I mean, A.J. Green, he's already kind of hurt. He's practicing again, but there's a really good chance that A.J. Green gets hurt. There's a good chance that John Ross is always getting hurt. And then their second-round pick, T. Higgins. T. Higgins is always he's not always getting hurt, but he's already hurt with a hamstring injury. So this is allowing Audin Tate and Tyler Boyd to be really good values for me right now. So I'm into the Bengals, and their defense is not going to be good. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. So Audin Tate is one of those guys that I'm really looking to target at the end of my drafts. And it looks like we got 3 more picks left here. So, I mean, at this point, these are just going to be names that could be potential waiver wire plays for you. It sounds like Marquez Valdes-Scantling is doing some good things in practice. I know a lot of people were high on him last year. I'm looking for some other receivers here, whether that we might even take John Ross, because you look at what John Ross did when he was healthy last year, and he put up some really big games. 34.8 to start the season. He had back-to-back 100-yard games with 3 touchdowns. So, I mean, even if I draft John Ross at this point and I just get 3 of these games, I think I'm interested in that. So John Ross could be a target here. Other receivers that are sticking out. We're not drafting Tyro Williams at all. He's got a shoulder. He's did something to his shoulder. It's a torn labrum or something, where he's not going to be basically 100% for the whole season. So I don't know if I trust that at all. But other wide receivers here that are sticking out, I'm looking for Tampa Bay's Scott Miller. And if you don't know who Scott Miller is, think of him. So he's on Tampa Bay, and he's going to be the wide receiver 3, and he's basically going to be the John Brown of that offense. So, and Bruce Arians coached John Brown in Arizona. So you think about how he's going to deploy that, and think about the Arizona receivers when they had Larry Fitzgerald, Anquan Bolden, even Steve Breston, and John Brown. Like, there is some really, really good players in Arizona. So they have Scott Miller listed here 5th. He's ahead of Tyler Johnson, but he's even ahead of Justin Watson. But just for like some stat lines here, this could be a stat line that you see from Scott Miller. A 4 for 71 game. You can see a 3 for 49 and a touchdown. I mean, you can also see 3 for 39. So he's going to be kind of 4th or 5th in the pecking order for receiving targets. But he's got some really high upside in a best ball league. We're not going to have to worry about starting him. So I'm into. I like getting good pieces of the offense, and Tampa Bay's offense is going to be as good as anybody's this year. So I'm super into that. We got 3 more picks left to make here. I'm trying to think, any more questions? We had some really good chat in the comments today. Speed Hydra, thank you for hanging out. Alligator Feed, thank you for hanging out. We got some good questions and discussion going on there. So yeah, I don't know if you are. I guess I want to show the fantasyfellowship.com real quick. If you don't know the fantasyfellowship.com, I put out all my own rankings, some articles. You can access the podcast, the YouTube, and all that stuff there. And then I just got like some individual team pages, and there's a lot to look at. So I have all my redraft rankings available here. If you've liked the content from this video and some of my other videos, you can go ahead and look at my 2020 cheat sheets. You can bring these to your draft. I have all kind of my rankings and my thoughts. And I've kind of been working on a couple of new tier rankings. But yeah, I have PPR, half PPR, and standard. So all that's there to go. And then, yeah, follow me on Twitter if you're not following me there. We just passed 400 followers on Twitter, so that was pretty cool. So yeah, 411, not bad. So we're just kind of moving here towards the end of the draft. I think after I make these next 2 picks, I'll probably sign off here. We're going on about an hour and 5 minutes for the video, so that might be long enough. So I think I've called out enough names and players that I like. I'm probably just going to target, I'm going to filter here by all. I like Greg Olsen, I like Scott Miller, so those are probably going to be my picks. And then I'll just do a walk-off pick with my last guy. I don't know who it's going to be, but yeah, I don't know. I'm going to sign off now, though. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for hanging out in the chat. And yeah, good luck in your drafts. Thank you for your time again, and I'll see you in another video. Peace.